special guest today. Our Alderman Osterman will not be running again next year. So we have 4 candidates here today who are running to be the Alderman of the 48th Ward. And we would like to have them come up and say a few words. And so you can get to know them. Usually ladies first, right? Ladies first. Leni.
Thank you, son. Hi, everyone. My name is Leni Manaa-Hoppenworth, and I'm running for 48th Ward Alderwoman. I want to thank everyone for being here to listen to the candidates that will represent you eventually in City Council. February 28th is Election Day, and your voice matters. I'm the daughter of Filipino immigrants. I'm a native Chicagoan. My parents came here from the Philippines, and I remember my grandmother telling me stories about hiding in the mountains during the war. My dad's dad was a miner, and when he broke his hip, he didn't have health insurance, so he lived the rest of his life with a broken hip. My dad grew up with his mother's sister and picked rice in the fields which he had to walk to many miles away in the next town. My dad and my mom came here to Chicago as nurses. They worked hard to work in the healthcare industry, and I followed in their footsteps as a physical therapist. I worked in the Cook County healthcare system with many people across Chicagoland, a very diverse group, and I understand what it means to not have a voice, to not have a voice in representation. I believe that City Council is underrepresented in terms of the number of women that are there, in terms of the number of Asian Americans that are there, in terms of the number of Filipinos that are there. Please look into my candidate website at leni448.com. I have a clipboard here, and we can collect your emails if you would like to keep in touch. I'm running because I want to represent all of us in the 48th Ward, not just a privileged, connected few. I believe that people who are on the margins, if they are centered, then everyone will be taken care of. Thank you for being here.
Nick?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Ward. I am a renter. I actually live right over here on Kenmore. I'm a community organizer, and for 20 years I worked in restaurants. And when I worked in restaurants, I worked alongside bussers and food runners who were underpaid, working 2 or 3 jobs all over the city. Every night, because I worked off of tips, I worried about my ability to pay for rent, bills, groceries. The last 4 years I spent working at Young Chicago Authors, which teaches creative writing to high school students across Chicago. Very similar to some of the services that are offered here. And I believe we need to invest in our young people with art, athletics, robotics, and STEM. But I got really activated here in this community at the height of the pandemic, where I delivered groceries and other resources to families and seniors in my community with the Uptown Buena Park Solidarity Network. And I joined the local school council right here at Gowdy Elementary School, where I looked at how rising unaffordability for families in this community was impacting the enrollment at the school. And so I want to make sure that we are stopping the displacement of working families in this community. I believe that leadership encompasses 3 things. It's making sure our neighbors have the resources that they need to live a safe, stable, and healthy life. It's understanding all of the policies and the budget that gets set far away downtown, but that impacts every person in every neighborhood in Chicago. And it means having the values to support our most vulnerable neighbors. And that's why I'm running for alderman. Thank you for being here. You can visit my office right up the street at Broadway and Catalpa, next to Gin Thai at 5454 North Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Issac Freilich Jones. I'm an assistant Illinois Attorney General, a public interest attorney, have a background in the nonprofit sector at an institution much like this one, and I'm running for 48th Ward Alderperson in 2023. And I'm running to focus on issues like housing affordability, government transparency, and making sure that we're making the investments we ought to make, as well as CTA, our public schools, mental health clinics, and more. And I'm particularly happy that you invited me to this event because this is my favorite time of year. It's an opportunity to really think about why we got involved in some of these fights to begin with. Remember what motivated us, brought us to this point. Principles like integrity, principles like solidarity, and the recognition of the simple power of communities where people care for one another. And so usually this is the part of my speech where I say, I hope you'll check out my website, I hope you'll take a look at what we're going to fight for, and I hope you'll vote for us. But this time my ask is something a little bit different. I hope that we can all come together in this season to recommit ourselves to the principles that always have motivated us, and to remember what it means to fight for the city that I know we are all committed to and that I know we all love. So thank you so much for having me in your community and in your event. It's a pleasure to see everybody. Have a wonderful, meaningful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Joe Dunne. I'm also running for alderman here in the 48th Ward. I was born and raised here in the 48th Ward in Chicago. My children who are over here are my third generation of my family growing up in the ward, so I've been here a long time. My family's been here. We've got deep roots in the community. And I'm running because I love the ward. I love City of Chicago, and I think that the 48th Ward is a great place for seniors. It's a great place for families. It's been a great place for me to grow up and for my children to grow up. And I think we need to work together to keep it that way. We need to address public safety. We need to address the affordability of living in the city, and particularly rising rents and rising property taxes. And we need to support our public schools and our local community organizations like the Southeast Asian Center. I have a track record of working collaboratively with community groups and public officials and government agencies for the last 20 years or so. I'm an affordable housing developer with Bickerdike Redevelopment Corporation. I've worked in Uptown, I've worked in Lawndale, I've worked in Woodlawn, Logan Square. I've worked all across the city building affordable housing to keep people in their communities, to keep people housed in the city at rents that they can afford. If you're familiar with the Wilson Yard Apartments or the Wilson Yard Senior Apartments just south on Broadway, I developed those back in 2007. We delivered those units in 2010, and that's 178 units of affordable housing in Uptown for the people who live here. I think we need to keep these activities and these initiatives moving forward, and I know that we need to do that collectively. We need to work together as a community with the community groups and the elected officials, and I would commit to doing that. And I hope I would have your support in February. Thank you.
Very much, Leni, Issac, Nick, and Joe. I see that the lunch is coming
Hey